Good evening. Let's see, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, I think we're okay. I think so. I just want to make sure we've got some other people here.
Only 45 altogether.
So we need 23. Okay, we've got it. Okay, good evening, everyone.
It's okay, sooner or later.
Good evening and welcome to Community Board 5 Full Board Meeting. I'm Vikki Barbero, the chair. I'd like to start the meeting off by calling the electeds board, their representatives up 3 at a time, please. So let's start out with Sam Vasquez, Lori H., and Abigail Bessler.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sam from Senator Hoylman's office. Just have a couple events to announce for all of you. Monday the 16th, we'll be hosting a town hall event with Attorney General Tish James at the CUNY Graduate Center. It's going to be a conversation about the upcoming progressive agenda in our state Senate session that will be starting in January. So we're excited about that event. If you're interested, I'll be in the back with a sign-up sheet if you'd like to RSVP or get a reminder email about it. There's also flyers in the back with the details and a link to RSVP if you're interested. There is also tomorrow, Friday the 13th, hopefully it's a lucky day for us, we're partnering with NYU, having a dental van where folks can get free dental care if you or anyone you know is in need. Dental care can be expensive if you're not covered, so feel free to join us. It's parked it's going to be tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 43rd Street between 9th and 10th Ave. And feel free to call our office for details on that. I also want to give a little community update about the favorite holiday event that we all love to hate, SantaCon. Senator Hoylman, along with Councilmember Keith Powers and Assemblymember Harvey Epstein, reached out to organizers of SantaCon after they announced that they were going to be having 2,000 Santas going off of the pier near Waterside, an intoxicated cruise. We asked them for details about, what their crowd control plan was and noise mitigation. Sorry, 1 second. They responded by canceling the event. So we're going to be following up and seeing if anything else comes up out of that. That's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome our state senator, Liz Krueger. Welcome, Liz. Good to see you.
How are you? I'll be quick.
Don't be quick.
No, there's a big meeting, a lot of things to do. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hadn't been here for a while, thought I'd just come in and say hi. For people who are confused, if you live in Community Board 5, probably you live in Brad Hoylman's district, but I represent a nice chunk of CB5, and so I try to always make sure to come a little bit west and say hi to everyone a few times a year. It's going to be a very busy year for the state Senate coming up in January, but just to jump on the statement I just heard about 2,000 drunk Santas. Okay, I personally am Jewish, but I've studied many Christian religions. I know of no biblical stories that relate to vomiting Santas. I'm just saying that, okay? So that's not really part of anyone's religious tradition. And speaking for the east side as well as the west side, nobody's community likes drunk Santas throwing up all over the place on a particular day of the year. So good credit to my colleagues from over here for succeeded in stopping that. So as I said, it's going to be a very busy year in Albany. We just came back from our Senate retreat, starting now in January 20, our second year in the majority for the Democrats in the Senate. We had a fairly bang-up year last year. We actually passed 2 houses, 957 bills. That was an unheard of number of pieces of legislation that passed both houses. We won't have a full count of how many the governor signed or vetoed until the last day of this month. But I know the governor signed one of my bills today that allows for an increase in tobacco tax on tobacco products that are not cigarettes but are other tobacco products to, again, try to ensure that New York has the highest taxes on tobacco as at least one way to try to discourage the use of tobacco products. We are also doing quite a bit around the concerns and issues of vaping and the expanded use of vaping by teenagers. So just one stat to think about. It took us over a decade to bring the smoking rate of teenagers down by, I think, 50%. We raised that back up to almost the exact same amount vaping in a 2-year period. So vaping and tobacco, vaping and any other product is becoming an enormous problem for teenagers in the state. And we need, in my opinion, to do anything and everything to discourage them from using. Because it turns out, while vaping companies have advertised this will help people get off of tobacco cigarettes, not true, and will discourage people from starting smoking, not true. It actually has been encouraging people at very young ages to start vaping, shifting to tobacco vaping, getting addicted at a higher rate than they would with just plain old cigarettes. And we, the government, have to say enough is enough and stop this from happening, including the flavored tobaccos and even fake tobaccos that just are flavor and still get you addicted. We're going to have a tough budget year in Albany for those of you who come to Albany and hope to see more money for different things. We have a commitment to fight for them, but we're starting the year with an estimated $6.5 billion deficit, according to the governor. You know, that's real money, unless anybody would like to hand us $6.5 billion here tonight. So we have to confront big overspending, at least on our budget plans, in Medicaid, health care, and the fact that we still underfund our schools fairly. So we have to deal with our funding formulas as well as adequate funding for our schools. And the Senate Democrats have been having hearings around the state on more topics than anyone can keep track of. It's almost a bit of a joke for those of us in the Senate. What day is this? What part of New York State are you going to be in today? What topic are you going to be having a hearing or a roundtable on? But the response, I say, particularly outside New York City, where people haven't seen senators come to their communities literally for decades, the response has been incredibly positive. I'm not going to take any more time. Since I am in Jerry Nadler territory, I just want to give a shout out to Congressman Nadler and the extraordinary work he has been doing. And some of us actually have to turn off the radio and TV sometimes and do other work, but every time I get to listen, sometimes in the late night reruns of the hearings, I think, not only thank God do I live in New York City, but I personally am sure I live in the greatest borough, in the greatest city in this country, and some of this country isn't so friendly to a lot of us right now. So it's good that we have a great city to come home to. So do you want me to answer questions?
Sure.
Sure.
It's up to you.
If anyone has.
Any questions? Well, there, I was thoroughly vague about everything, so nobody has any follow-up questions. Perfect. Thank you. Have a good meeting.
So good to see you. Happy
It was nice
holidays.
seeing you. Happy holidays to you both.
Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Lori Harjo-Rogo from Speaker Corey Johnson's office. I'm going to start and end, I hope, with good news. Tin Pan Alley was officially landmarked. Layla, this is for you. Yeah, the LPC voted, Landmarks Preservation Committee voted unanimously. So this was a top priority of Speaker Johnson. So we're very pleased that LPC recognized the importance of protecting places with both cultural and historical significance. It is the birthplace of songs like Take Me Out to the Ball Game and God Bless America. So we're very pleased. The only other thing I'm going to share tonight is that we, like most of the council offices, have a toy drive that's been extended to December 18th. And you can drop toys off at our office. We're also going to have, look here, a Scree Dree workshop on January 22nd, and that'll be at Visions at Sellis Manor. And then we have what we're calling a Department of Buildings office hours in our office. Members of the Community Engagement Division and the Office of the Tenant Advocate will be there to discuss any building issues. You do have to make an appointment, but otherwise, you're free to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Abigail Bessler from Councilmember Keith Powers' office. First, this past month, the mayor announced that the city would implement a plan that Councilmember Powers proposed with Borough President Gail Brewer to address overcrowding around Rockefeller Center during the holidays by temporarily closing 49th and 50th Streets between 5th and 6th Avenues, and the board looked at this, so I thought you would appreciate the update. The plan was put in place by DOT and the police department, and it involves closing those streets at the most congested times, as well as greatly increasing pedestrian space on 5th Avenue. Second, Councilmember Powers recently introduced a bill to improve the pedestrian experience in Times Square. In recent years, visitors and residents alike have noticed an uptick in costume characters grabbing or touching people without consent, and if you've ever walked through, it's just very difficult to move. Whether a lifelong New Yorker or tourist, the councilmember believes people should be able to move through Times Square and New York City freely without threat of harassment. The bill would clarify ambiguities in the existing law around vendors, establish pedestrian flow zones where commercial activity is not allowed, and require DOT to review sightseeing bus stops and street closures in the area, which I know the board is interested in. Third, the councilmember's bill to mandate a centralized application and tracking system, that's a mouthful, for city-issued parking placards passed the city council last month, along with 8 other bills to reduce the abuse of placards. This will provide clarity into the process and assist with enforcement of illegal parking. And then lastly, it may have been stolen earlier, but to wish you happy holidays, I did want to inform you of the SantaCon event being canceled. I will add that it was already mentioned that it was a 2,000-person boat party, but I will add that it was sponsored by Fireball and did have live DJs, so that will not happen. Happy holidays, and reminder to donate to our toy drive and our coat and sock drive. The flyers are in the back along with our newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you. Clayton.
Sorry, actually, quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just about the Rock Center closures. There's been not actual reporting, but Twitter user reporting that the NYPD is selectively choosing when to actually, and that the hours of the lanes to vehicular traffic being closed and opened are not
What the mayor announced.
what the announcement was. Do you know
Okay,
anything
I
about
haven't
that?
seen those tweets, but if you want to send them to me, we can get that fixed. Yeah, thank you.
The wording in the statement from the mayor actually said that Monday through Friday, it only starts at 5 p.m. and there is some clause about the police using their discretion.
Discretion or
So,
emergency time.
you know, it's a little unclear about.
Yeah, but we're happy to work with the board on any issues around it.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Abigail. Okay, next 3, Brian Lafferty, Jeremy Unger, and Betsy Schmid.
Good evening. Borough President Brewer would like to wish everyone a happy holiday season and a happy new year. In addition, she's pleased to announce that applications for Manhattan Community Board membership and the Manhattan Solid Waste Advisory Board are now open to January 21st. I brought a few paper copies of the community board application and placed them at the back. And if you'd like more information on the Solid Waste Advisory Board or the link to apply to CB5 or other community boards, they're also in the newsletter, which I place in the back. Of course, Borough President Brewer encourages community board members whose terms expire in March 2020 to reapply now if they wish to continue serving. If you're unsure when your term expires, please feel free to reach out to me. I can be reached at 212-669-4564. Again, that's 212-669-4564, or blafferty@manhattanbp.nyc.gov. Borough President Brewer's fourth annual holiday diaper drive has also begun and will run through January 31st. You may order diapers from Amazon to be delivered directly to the Food Bank of New York City. Again, if you'd like more information on that, you can see me or our newsletter in the back, or feel free to reach out by phone or email. And lastly, on tomorrow, I should say, Friday, December 13th from 12 to 2 at Metropolitan Hospital, Borough President Brewer will hold an opioid overdose education and Narcan training event. So I just wanted to mention that. Again, more information can be found in our newsletter. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Jeremy from Councilwoman Carlina Rivera's office. Just echoing the holiday wishes from everyone else. We are also doing a toy drive. Toys can be submitted up until tomorrow afternoon at our district office, 254 East 4th Street, or at the Kips Bay Library. In other news, we've been really excited about the positive results that have been coming out of the 14th Street busway. Ridership is up. Bus travel times are up, but we do understand that there have been continuing concerns from residents along both 14th Street and on the side streets, which is why Councilwoman Rivera and our office recently convened a walkthrough of the area with Department of Transportation officials. We brought to their attention, along with a number of residents, concerns about needing additional signage, potentially changing some of the street designs on University Place and 13th and 12th Streets, and better enforcement and education for both the officers who are doing the enforcement along 14th Street and for the drivers who sometimes are illegally entering the 14th Street corridor. So hoping to have more potential results there to change that, to make that a little bit more amenable to the surrounding community. We certainly want to take any feedback that you all have, and happy to go on a walkthrough with anybody who asks for it with them to point out to see if there's any other things we can help to improve. In other news, Councilwoman Rivera has been pushing very hard at City Hall for ending solitary confinement on Rikers Island. We've had a lot of really tragic news on Rikers Island, including the death of a young man just before Thanksgiving earlier this year. I think it really echoes the importance of ending this really cruel and barbaric practice. We're going to be continuing to push the Board of Correction to make these changes. They're currently examining rules around the end of solitary confinement. And then finally, we've recently held 3 hospital hearings kind of in the last 3 weeks. Just wanted to highlight them. One about the future of electronic medical record systems, one about the city's HIV education and prevention, and one about surprise billing, which we really want to have ended in New York City hospitals. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Betsy Schmid from Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney's office. And this past month, the Congresswoman had some really interesting and exciting things going on. On November 20th, she was elected as the chair of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, becoming the first woman to chair the committee in the committee's history. So that was very exciting. In her first act as official chair, Congresswoman Maloney filed a federal lawsuit against AG Barr and Secretary Ross to enforce subpoenas in the census investigation. Yesterday, the House passed the NDAA with an amendment put forth by Congresswoman Maloney that guarantees federal workers 12 weeks of paid time off for the birth, fostering, or adoption of a child. On Tuesday, she also held her first hearing in the Oversight Committee on the issue of national paid family and medical leave for all workers, so a broader law surrounding that. The Congresswoman has been working on these issues her entire career, so these were really big wins for her. She has also been hard at work in her role in the impeachment hearing and Tuesday's announcement of the articles of impeachment. And last week, Congresswoman Maloney also voted to protect access to the ballot and passed the Voting Rights Advancement Act to make sure everyone's vote is protected and counts. And we also just want to wish you a happy holidays.
Thank you. Luke Wolf, that ends, after Luke, that ends the electeds or their representatives, and then we'll go into the public session.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke Wolf. I'm with City Comptroller Scott Stringer's office. I want to start by wishing everyone a happy holidays, and I hope everyone has a good rest of December going into the new year. And given it's the new year, I want to talk a little bit about the past year and kind of the fiscal health of the city. As the Comptroller's office, our job is to be the CFO of the city and really are in charge of making sure the city is in a strong financial place and the economy is hopefully zooming along. So what we found this year in our most recent report is that GDP grew by 2.9%, which is faster than the U.S. average. We had a 2% increase in the number of jobs in New York City. Unemployment is at 4.2%, which is an all-time low for New York City. And our hourly wages are up 4.1%. So overall, the economic health of the city is strong. However, there's, of course, a lot more work to be done, which is why we're still hard at work in our other functions, managing the pension, as well as conducting audits of a number of the city agencies and bureaus. I want to touch upon our most recent audit, which is of MTA and New York City Transit, and their $600 million contract to get 300 new subway cars. So what we found when we looked at that was that there was actually a substantial amount of work that still needs to be done by MTA and NYCT in particular, but a number of city agencies making sure they're enforcing their contracts. When we looked at that particular one, we found that out of the 300 subway cars that were supposed to be delivered, only 18 was delivered on time. And because of all of that, the city had to spend tens of millions of dollars repairing old subway cars, which they would not have to do otherwise. So that's just one example of the work the Comptroller is doing to make sure we're keeping our financial health in order and make sure all of our agencies and bureaus are managing their money in a responsible way. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you. Okay, that ends the electeds and their representatives. We now enter the public session, which is members of the public are invited to address the board for 2 minutes on items and issues that they feel the board should be made aware of or that they are interested in. We do have a contentious issue on our agenda this evening, and I would encourage everyone who would like to speak to please be sure to try not to repeat the same thing over and over. We're anxious to hear what it is that you have to say and how many people might agree with you and why, but we don't need to hear the same thing in complete repetition. So please keep that in mind in the interest of time, because we do have a very large agenda ahead of us after the public session. So thank you very much, and I will start again by calling up 3 people at a time. Kayleen Ashcroft, Marova Rahi, and Gail Fox.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marwa, and I'm from the Civilian Complaint Review Board. The Civilian Complaint Review Board is a city agency that is independent from the NYPD, and we investigate, mediate, and administratively prosecute allegations of police misconduct. So if anyone experiences police misconduct or witnesses police misconduct, whether it be excessive or unnecessary use of force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, or offensive language, you can file that complaint with us and have it investigated in an unbiased manner. So I'm here to make a quick announcement. The ballot proposals that was voted on November 5th included question number 2, which concerned the Civilian Complaint Review Board, and it passed. So I just want to let everyone know about the 5 changes that will be happening to the CCRB. Some effective immediately, some will be put into effect earlier next year. So the first change would be the structure of our board. Right now, our board is made up of 13 members, 5 from the police commission, 5 from by the mayor, 5 city council, 3 from the police commissioner. They're going to add 2 more members, one from the public, one selected by the public advocate, and one that is a joint selection by both the mayor and city council. In addition to that, city council can now directly select who the 5 members that they want on this board. The next change is that our executive director will now be delegated subpoena power. The third change would be that the CCRB can investigate false official statements made by NYPD officers during a CCRB investigation. The fourth change would be that if the police commissioner deviates from a disciplinary recommendation made by the board, he or she has to provide a detailed written explanation as to why they decided not to go with our recommendation, and they also have to explain what form of discipline they chose to do instead. And lastly, we now have an established minimum budget. It's going to be tied into the budget of the NYPD's uniformed officers budget. It'll be equivalent to 0.65% of their budget. Thank you and happy holidays.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kaylin. I'm with the Girl Scouts of Greater New York. I just wanted to say that, you know, when I say Girl Scouts, I bet you about 90% of you just immediately think, does she have cookies? But I just want to say that we do so much more than Girl Scouts. That's only one very small part of our year. Normally what we do is we teach girls how to be sisters to one another through hands-on activities. They do community service. They work on STEM. They go to robotics. Our robotics team actually almost won the world championship this year. We take them camping. We teach them how to build a fire, how to if somebody attacks them, survival skills, a bear, anything. They're extremely skillful girls that learn a lot of these skills through starting as daisies in Girl Scouts. And we're basically here to try and find new volunteers to join our organization and help us build these girls of courage, confidence, and character. So I have these business cards. If anybody is interested, I'm going to leave them right by the door over here, and you can contact us if you have any adults at all, or even a daughter, niece, anybody who's interested in starting her journey with Girl Scouts.
Hi, everybody. Gail Fox here, speaking for the 14th Street Coalition and speaking for myself. The traffic changes in the busway, I'm having great difficulty, and I'm just asking, please watch our backs. We would like some rollbacks. I'd like to participate in a survey, me personally with some of my people and neighbors, and I'd like to see city agencies send some representatives with feet on the ground. I've put in some issues, and I've had to put some of them in like multiple times in emails before they got fixed. So please support this effort. I did write an article, it's called My Opinion, and it's in thevillagesun.com. It's been sent to the CB5 office, and find me if you need, but thevillagesun.com. Please watch my back and watch our back. It's not all roses out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Next 3, Judy Olson, Anna Maki, and Mitchell Siegel, I think. Either way. Go ahead, time's a-wasting.
I'll go first. Good evening, everybody. My name is Judy Olson. I'm going to read a statement that from the 29th Street Neighborhood Association, of which I am a member. This is regarding the Glass Ceiling Events, LLC, application for a liquor license. The rooftop venue at 1204 Broadway is adjacent to a residential co-op located at 1200 Broadway, where residents' windows are located a mere feet from the 4th floor rooftop. While the area is comprised of many commercial buildings, there are several other residential buildings that would feel the impact of patron noise from this venue, which is situated on the lowest rooftop on the block, allowing sound to funnel upward from the fourth floor rooftop through the canyon of taller buildings surrounding it. The all-glass structure on the roof is impressive. I actually saw it the other day. It provides seating and shelter from the elements when needed. The structure's glass roof panels open, and every glass panel that make up the wall between the inside space and the adjacent outdoor terrace space slides open as well, creating a very large, unenclosed outdoor space. The glass structure will do nothing to mitigate the sound of 74 patrons in the event space when the glass wall is open to the terrace. The proposed business model for the roof space includes the use of a DJ with hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday through Wednesday, and 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Thursday through Sunday, providing an outdoor space for late-night special events. This is consistent with Luminary's business as a meeting and event space provider. Luminary's posted operating hours in the space on the third and fourth floors of 1204 Broadway are 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. from Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Luminary is closed on Sundays. The rooftop space is positioned to function well after Luminary's workday hours have ended. To quote the applicant's website, a private 4,000 square foot rooftop deck opening in 2019 overlooking the Empire State Building is available for Luminary members' usage and private events. The late night hours and inability to mitigate sound for a large crowd in such close proximity to residential buildings makes this venue unsuitable for a liquor license. The 29th Street Association urges the community board to recommend denial for a rooftop liquor license application as submitted by Glass Ceiling Events, LLC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want a copy of this?
Sure.
Good evening. My name's Mitchell Siegel. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Glass Ceiling Events LLC. I thank the full board for allowing us to attend and providing some narrative on the applicant's application. It's been an interesting process, to say the least. Normally, you give community board notice 30 days prior to filing an application. Our community board notice was sent on April 9th, 2019. It's now 8 months later, and we're still dealing with the process. We've met with this community board 6 or 7 times. As well as the community, we've given tours, we've provided narrative, we've undertaken a sound engineering report. We've done pretty much everything that the community board has asked. Their first recommendation was for us to take out our outside speakers and limit our hours outside, which we did. And by the way, we're not really an outdoor space. 85% of the 100% of the rooftop is an enclosed space, built very soundly with thick glass walls and very de minimis sound system. We've limited our time already as we've gone forward in this process. And in fact, on our second to last meeting, our last walkthrough happened yesterday, we were told, I believe that was November 21st, that we would be receiving an affidavit as to what they would recommend, in addition to the changes that we have already made. That affidavit never came, and in fact, on the November 26th, we received a resolution of denial. Now, I do want to say that, first off, before I get into some of the reasons why it should be approved, you have here 2 phenomenal principals. I represent a lot of applicants throughout the city, and you have an individual that owns 7 buildings in that neighborhood, one of which is a hotel that has an impeccable record, that has changed that neighborhood when it was drug-ridden with counterfeit businesses and invested tens of millions, if not $100 million, to change and help that neighborhood. Additionally, the co-applicant, can we stop that?
It's 2 minutes for
I'm
to
not,
speak.
okay. So additionally, the co-applicant is a prominent businesswoman. Since I'm time limited, I'll let her discuss her prominence. A 20-year international investment banker who's created a renowned women's network in that building and wants to extend the space into this pretty much enclosed rooftop. I just want to touch on a couple other things. Rooftops are conducted
Sir, if we do one for one, we have to do for everyone, and we really have an agenda that we have to get.
Then I'll close in saying this. If someone goes through the Manhattan Community Board's rooftop and rear on-premises liquor license policy, as well as the new promulgated liquor license task force, we satisfy all the requirements. And the rooftop policy starts off with saying, we're here to balance competing interests. Well, we're here to balance those competing interests, but it hasn't been balanced here.
Please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, thank you everyone for hearing us out. My name is Anna Mackey, and I am a resident at apartment 3G of the Gilsey House.
Can you speak up? Sorry.
My name is Anna Mackey, and I'm a resident at apartment 3G of the Gilsey House. I have lived here with my husband since 2010, and now we have a 10-year-old daughter. I'm here to strongly oppose the liquor license application for a rooftop bar, tavern, and event space on the rooftop of 1204 Broadway, also known as the Glass Ceiling. Our apartment is located on the north side of the Gilsey House in direct proximity to 1204 Broadway. For those who cannot see the picture, this is a picture from our daughter's bedroom window. The brick wall that you see is 1204 Broadway, and we can reach it if we stretch out our arm. The rooftop of 1204 Broadway is 10 feet above. The triangular shape that the walls of our two buildings create is a perfect echo chamber, since it's a triangular cylinder that reflects sound and would reflect any sound coming from the rooftop of 1204 Broadway. Our daughter, like any kindergartner, goes to bed by 8 p.m. By that time, our neighborhood is largely shut down and quiet. This, of course, would dramatically change if the glass ceiling were to open as intended. I do want to say, as a working woman, as the mother of a young daughter, I'm all for women empowerment and breaking the glass ceiling. I wish all the tenants, the current and future tenants, of the shared workspace at 1204 Broadway, thriving and successful businesses. I can also assure you that for my 5-year-old daughter to thrive and be successful, sleep is an absolutely necessity. And she will be deprived of that if you were to grant that liquor license. I appreciate the CB5 board attention and request kindly a consideration to deny. Thank you.
Thank you. Next three will be Kate Luzio, Razada Vaid, and Lawrence Glickman.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kate Luzio. I'm the co-applicant for the glass ceiling. Let me just continue what our attorney was going to say. We have been working for over 8 months with Community Board 5 and the residents of the Gilsey House, which are the biggest opposition to the glass ceiling, in trying to remediate the issues that they see with the glass ceiling. First, let me just explain that Luminary is the space on the 3rd and 4th floor of 1204 Broadway. We're a collaborative hub for women and professional development. We have over 600 members in less than a year and over 20 corporate members. What we've brought into the community is new business and new opportunity for restaurants, bars, as well as nail salons and all the local businesses. We are not trying to create a nightclub on the rooftop. We are trying to create a new opportunity for our women in our community to entertain clients and take and be a part of the community, bringing small businesses back into the neighborhood. One of the things that the community board had an issue with was the noise as well as the light. So when you look at the policy on the Broadway corridor restricted licensing area, a few of the things that we've done to order to mitigate and work with the community before Board 5. Hours of operations of the premises shall not be later than we've agreed to. If there is any outdoor space, including any unenclosed or semi-enclosed area, such outdoor space comply with CB5's rooftop rear yard on-premises license, closing no later than 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and no later than 11 p.m. Friday through Saturday. We have done that. For any outdoor space adjacent to a residential building, protection shall be implemented to preserve the privacy of any abutting residential areas. We have done that. No music, including ambient music, will be permitted in any outdoor space. We've done that. We've removed outdoor speakers. No DJs or live music shall be played in any outdoor space at any time. We've agreed to that. Any outdoor areas permitted outdoor music will require a sound engineer. We've done that. We've provided the report, and we've agreed to do anything in that sound report as provided. We've also shaded the glass for the roof so that there's no light disturbance. We've relocated all of the HVAC to the other side of the building so we can remove noise. We've done everything that the community board has asked us to do, and yet they've still denied us. Thank you.
My name is Razada Ved. I am owner of 1204 building. And I just want to say that basically when I bought this building, it used to be, if you Google it, it used to call Mecca for counterfeit business. And this is the, if you Google it, and I cleaned the building. I had cleaned almost 38 tenants who were doing counterfeit stuff in that building, cleaned one by one, and brought better tenants because all drug peddling was happening, all that stuff was happening. I cleaned building totally and brought a corporate businesses to that building, cleaned out all neighborhood. I personally called maybe 1,100 times to the police department to clean drug peddlers in that area. I have done everything as a good community member, invested and cleaned that area, brought better tenants. Just few minutes before the young lady was telling about windows, it is very ironic that that window was supposed to be covered in my program, and I spared that window because I was a good neighbor. If you see, this window was supposed to be covered in the plan, and I spared her for her light and air. And now she's turning that window on me that as if I've done something wrong. And also, I left a gap between the structure and that, so that there's a gap between the building, so that there's no noise travel or vibration travel. I have done everything, and if you see the whole program, I'm going to give all the pictures to you, and you can see that it's such a beautiful structure has been built, and we have invested almost $3 million on this structure. And I am surprised to bring women to do their business better. We are being denied for this CB5 board. And also, I was surprised to see on O'Reilly, there's an apartment building on 4-story. There the liquor license has been issued, and we have been denied. Even same situation, they're adjacent to each other. There should be some kind of leverage to each and every member who applies, that one should be taking into consideration that the way this has been denied. So I just want to see this woman is very hardworking. She has put her heart and soul into the business. Please give her a chance to grow other women business in their neighborhood, as we are trying to help this neighborhood to be better. And I've cleaned out as to my best of my effort. Thank you.
My name is Lawrence Glickman, and I live in apartment 7A at the Gilsey House. This is a picture of the Gilsey House, and this is a picture of the rooftop bar. My apartment is right here with windows facing this way. I'm 30 feet above the bar. There are other windows on this side of the building as well, and other buildings, as you will soon find out, around the bar on 30th Street. Some of you have heard this before. My wife and I are opposed to giving a liquor license to a top of 1204 Broadway, referred to as the glass ceiling. The rooftop bar is in the process of being built on the 4th floor rooftop. It is a glass building with outdoor space and a steel bridge walkway to the roof of the building next door. The plan seems to call for events, including live bands, DJs, dancing, liquor bar, and the usual shouting of happy young people so often seen at rooftop bars nearby, at hotels, and the so many restaurants already in our neighborhood. I am 87 years old, and my wife is 85, and she's homebound. We have lived in the beautiful landmark Gilsey House at 1200 Broadway for 40 years. We bought it then as raw space loft and made changes all along the way. We just paid off our mortgage several months ago. My bedroom, or our bedroom, and our living room is 30 feet above the rooftop bar, which is on the 4th floor. We are on the 6th floor, and there are other apartments up there. What, can I make one last thing?
One last one.
Thank you. We cannot live there anymore. We can't live there anymore, and we can't sell, because who would buy our apartment? As I said before to this group, would anybody here buy my apartment 30 feet above a rooftop bar? I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, just one thing. There are many stories to tell by the hundreds of families in our neighborhood who will again be affected by the tumult and the agony of having more liquor-induced noise in our homes.
Okay, so
Please do the
thank
right
you.
thing and say no.
Thank you. All right, next three will be Jamie Gorman, Paul Cardozo, and Catherine Quinn.
Hello, can you hear me? My name is Jamie Gorman. I'm also a resident of the Gilsey House, and I'm in apartment 4G. I have the same concerns, and I also have the same request to consider a no vote on granting a liquor license to the glass ceiling. And my reasoning is obviously similar in terms of the complaints or the worry, I should say, about noise coming from that type of a venue serving alcohol on a rooftop. There's been a number of points made by the applicant about, oh, it's enclosed. Let me tell you, this thing is entirely openable, and there's no reason they would keep it closed unless, you know, someone was forcing them to do that. But it's going to be open as weather permitting, I would assume, and that concerns me because as a resident, my apartment literally, all my windows face the rooftop, and I can step out of my window onto the rooftop. The building's abut right at my apartment, and that's concerning for me, not only for noise, but security. I mean, you're gonna now have hundreds of people coming to a venue 10, 20 feet away from my windows that they could theoretically kind of case out. I mean, I don't think most people do that, but there's been a break-in in my apartment before, and they accessed it from the roof of 1204. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Cardozo. I'm also on the board of 1200 Broadway. I'm on the 4th floor. My apartment is 4A, and the structure that has been defined actually has closed my windows. But as the gentleman was saying earlier, he's kept the windows open. It is actually a fire hazard. So there's a sheetrock wall now that is 6 inches from the window that we are now forced to close because it is against city regulations. So the point that I want to make to the board is this: please deny the application, and I will tell you why. Because there is a rooftop bar at the Maid Hotel on 29th Street, 100 feet away from my apartment. So all the A-line apartments can hear that bar, and we have actually called 311, and that is 100 feet away on the 14th floor. Imagine something 6 inches from your window. And so there are 16 apartments that actually face this venue, and there are 6 more in the shaft of this landmark building that became landmarked in 1978. So, friends, community, pay heed to what we're saying, deny this application. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine Quinn, and I represent the Board of Directors of GLC House. I would like to remind CB5 and everyone here that GLC House was built in 1871, and it's on the National Register of Historic Places, on top of being on New York City's landmark. It's an exquisite exhibit of wrought iron facade, and it was here long before the building that Mr. Vad bought, I think, which was built in 1930. But because it's so old and so historic, it is perhaps more vulnerable than a newer building to a new structure that is partially built, connected to it, and partially just a few feet away. To follow what some of the residents have already said, there are this glass enclosure is the roof and all of the sides are operable. They can be open, and based on the license application, they would be open at will during warm weather. The problem with this particular structure is that it is not in compliance with the CB5's task force, in that it is 4 stories below 4 stories of apartments of GLC House. And it is attached to it, and 16 of the units look down upon it. I would like to say that I personally and GLC House residents completely admire and support the work of Luminary. The partial principal, 50% principal of the applicant. They have 2 floors of 1204 Broadway, and we wish them success, and we applaud their advocacy for women, but this is not the appropriate place for this structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next 3, Pia Custantino, Sarah Foley, and Joe Abruzzo.
Good evening. My name is Pia Constantino, and I'm a resident at the GLC House at 1200 Broadway. I am a single mother of a 5.5-year-old, and our windows face directly down onto the space in question, the glass ceiling event space on 1204 Broadway. We're just about 2 floors above that. It's already hard enough to be a single mother in the city. Our home is our haven. It's sacred to us. It's where I come together with my daughter. I'm really scared of what that event space might do. We are already surrounded by loud music at night. This summer, my daughter underwent open heart surgery, and we were home written a lot. And the sounds and music from the Maid Hotel was unbearable at times, especially when my mother stays with me to help me out with my daughter. She's over 70 as well. So please listen. We dearly care about our building and our community. This is a family building, and we want peace. Thank you.
Sarah Foley.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Foley. Thank you for the opportunity to have us speak here tonight. Appreciate the time you're taking. I'm a member of Luminary, and I hope to look forward to utilizing the glass ceiling. I run a business here in New York that invests in early stage companies. 70% of them are female founded or led. I take a lot of my meetings at Luminary because it's a wonderful, as the founder, Kate, spoke to, a collaborative hub. where we can come together and network in a safe environment. So for us, we enjoy the space. I feel the glass ceiling will simply be a nice extension to that space, largely used during the day. We're all busy. We have other things to do in the evening. This is not a crowd. If you got to know the population and the membership that's going to be using it late at night. And they've already agreed, as I think some of the other folks have spoken to, on how the space is intended to be utilized. We look for places where we can have, again, a safe environment to enjoy the company of our friends, of our potential business partners, and to grow our community, which includes the area around 1204 Broadway. Again, we're responsible adults. We appreciate that there are other businesses around that building that have also opened or will soon be opening in the next 12 months. Larger structures that include liquor license, including the Virgin Hotel, which is situated across the street, and not only will have liquor served on premise, but have a pool across the street that will be, I'm sure, visible to many other buildings in the neighborhood. But this is a business and an area that is very confined, and we would love to be able to look forward to using it. Thank you.
I'm Joe Abruzzo. I'm a resident of the Capitol Building, and I work here in Midtown Manhattan. I have a tremendous empathy for the nearby residents of the glass ceiling, especially Mr. and Mrs. Glickman, the young families we heard from. I mean, I absolutely understand the pain and the fear they have with all of this. But I also have empathy for the commercial operation, which has invested a great deal of money, not only to improve the space, but also to significantly abate the inconvenience a few of these residents in that building will face on the roof. I just feel that a vote against a liquor license, in this case, is a vote against commerce. Commerce is why we get to enjoy this amazing city we all live in. It's why we enjoy the great services of the city of New York. It's why we have this room to meet and debate, which is all good. The glass ceiling is in a heavily commercial district, and while a license may be inconvenient to a few of the residents facing the glass ceiling's roof, I don't feel the conveniences of the few should halt the immense long-term community benefits of commerce, especially in this heavily commercial area. It's very easy to take the value of commerce for granted. Let some other district do it, put a bar somewhere else. However, I ask that you hear and empathize with these residents. We have to hear them. I'm sorry for what they fear, but factor in the benefits to the broader community and to the great city of New York. Please give these commercial neighbors a chance to help their customers as well as the community we live in. Thank you.
Next three are Vivian Pan, Meredith Little, and Beth Kasner. Beth.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to us. I'm also a member, resident of the Gilsey House. I live in 6 and 7G, and I'm 2 of the 16 units that directly look over. So Mr. Glickman, Larry said that he's on the 7th floor, and so am I, and you know, it's like 30 feet away. Routinely, when the construction workers were up there during the past year, we can hear them in the morning. They start at 7, and that's just 2 or 3 guys. So, you know, within not even the inside the glass structure, but on the balcony, I think you can see it on the picture, that where people can step outside. Imagine even if 10 people were out there, 20 people into the late hours with alcohol. I think that is going to be extremely problematic for all of the residents who live in those the 16 units and below. But from a personal point of view, I also want to say that I obviously believe in the empowerment of women. I'm a female entrepreneur myself. I've made enough money so I can buy another unit in the building, and also made a significant investment in my unit for the enjoyment of and the quality of life. And I worked on Wall Street 20-something years, and to me personally, this is a personal thing, I don't represent my neighbors, but I just don't see the empowerment of women and alcohol together playing a role, because most of the time nowadays, you meet and you network with your associates or colleagues. Alcohol's not in the equation anymore. There are no more 3-hour martini lunches. And in fact, in the evenings, when they are served alcohol, people don't usually accept it because we want to be on the top of our games. Nobody wants to be tipsy and be, embarrassment to your company or your, anyway, so that's what I have to say, and thank you for listening.
Good evening, I'm Beth Caswan. I'm also a resident of Gilsey House. I'm on the board of Gilsey House, and I was as well a couple of years ago. I am a practicing attorney. I also sincerely support the goals of Luminary. Certainly women can use all the help they can get in this environment. This hearing has absolutely nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that our building and so many of the apartments are so close to this space that the noise, that when people speak, when there's music, it is as though it's in the apartments on one side of the building. And I just want to dispel this suggestion that we've heard here that our opposition was a complete surprise, and the owner of this building had no idea he'd be facing opposition when he invested all the money on this space, because 2 to 3 years ago, there was an application to install a music venue in the basement, and we had a report showing that the vibrations would go through our building, and the application was withdrawn. So this project went forward with the full knowledge that it would be opposed because of the noise issues.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to keep this brief because I would repeat what a lot of other people said. My name is Meredith Little. I live in 4-5F of the Gilsey House. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I'm an independent contractor. So again, I appreciate everything Luminary is doing for women. But all my windows will be impacted by the noise from this space. My daughter will probably not be able to sleep for her entire high school career. My poor husband will also not be able to sleep during her entire high school career, and neither will I. And while I can appreciate the need to come together and work in a community that's supportive, I don't think this rooftop area is necessary for Luminary to accomplish their goals. I think they have a beautiful space that's interior where they can do those things. And having seen the space yesterday, while it's lovely, it is very open. It will be even more open when the weather's nice. And it will be incredibly disruptive to many, many of the residents of our building, as well as those around us. So I urge you to deny this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next three, Robin Schletter, Lorena Emhoff, and Ramona Ortega.
Hello, good evening. I am a member of Luminary in support of the glass ceiling. I am a single mother, and I also have a son that goes to this school, so my taxpayer dollars are in fact part of this CB5. I want to make a couple of points. One is, I was a corporate securities attorney, so in fact, I do know that people still, and men in particular, still have convenings and places where they have drinks with business and business development. I was very much a part of that world for a very long time. And then ended up starting a tech company. I'm one of very few women in Silicon Valley who has a tech company in financial services. So I'm not going to the rooftop to party. I'm going to the rooftop to hold business meetings, to invite investors up. As you know, our space is a women-owned space. And in fact, there are many different venues in the area that serve alcohol, and in fact, across the street, there's a new 26-plus building going up that's going to have a pool party. I'm surprised that was not more outrage around that versus a space in which people are coming together for business. So I think that this sort of characterization of the things that are going to happen, that we're going to be wildly dancing, I'm building a company, the last thing I'm going to do is be partying. So I think that that's one thing. Two, as a single mother, when I decided to find a place to live, I found a place where things like noise, things like accessibility and safety for my child, and I moved to Brooklyn, and he in fact commutes to come to school here. So I think if you're living in a commercial zone, it's one thing to consider if you are raising your kid. Yes, absolutely. If you're raising your kid and you want silence all around you, I'm not sure I would live in the middle of the city. In fact, that's the choice that I made. So I think it's interesting to find that there's so many people that are raising that you can't raise a child and that the child can't sleep. My child sleeps very well with different business venues in my neighborhood. So it's a commercial district, and by the way, we spend a lot of our dollars in that neighborhood. I'm there every day now, so I can see the kind of dollars that we bring with our business coming to different venues, including the restaurants around the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Lorena Emhoff, and I'm also a Brooklynite. However, I have been very involved in the community in that I'm a member of Marble Collegiate Church for many years. My daughter is a member of the Tada Theater, so I love this neighborhood, and I love some of the changes that we've seen. That being said, I'm a member also of Luminary. I joined in the spring. I think, look, I'm also a president. I'm the president of my co-op in Brooklyn. I understand your concerns. I think I would have the same concerns as well. Okay, let's not kid ourselves. However, I just want to dispel the notion that we're a group of wayward partying women. I think for many of us, those days are maybe long gone. At least I can say that for myself. It's a group of executives, executive women, former executives. I'm a former executive. I was the treasurer of the New York Times Company, and I've started my own business. I left the Times on my own volition to start my own business, and Luminary was a haven for me. It was, when you're starting a business, many may know, you need a network, and a network of women supporting one another is critical. Now, you might say, well, why do you need liquor? I've heard the young lady say that we don't need this. If you're looking at it from purely a business standpoint, for every restaurant, what is the #1 thing for their revenue? Most restaurants, it's liquor. Now, I will again emphasize, this is not a partying group. Please note, I've heard some statements that's partying all night. Kate has emphasized that the hours are not till 2 o'clock in the morning. This is definitely not that group, and you should maybe just take a look at the organization and see for yourselves. Please do not judge based off of hearsay and fear. Get to know the organization, and please take note that you have a business owner extending a hand wanting to work with you. As a co-op board member, that is critical. Do not ignore that. You're not always going to have an opportunity where you're going to have a company come in and want to work with you willingly and eagerly. Please consider that. Thank you.
Hello. It's going to be hard to talk, so I'm going to, with the cold that most of us have in this room. My name is Rubin, and I am an executive coach, and I'm a proud member of Luminary, and being a member of Luminary has upped the brand of my business significantly. I see corporate clients there of high-level clients of senior leadership position, and I often see my clients for dinners or after business hours. Now, I'll just share with you 2 nights ago where I had a senior leader at a very big company in this area, and he wanted to go to dinner. And we went to L'Amico, and it was wonderful, but it was noisy. And I was sitting there saying, I can't wait until the glass ceiling opens, because for all the reasons that a lot of people here are against the glass ceiling are the reasons that we want the glass ceiling: for quiet, for mature, professional business discussions. And I am proud to be a member of Kate's organization, because as a leader, she has been remarkable, and the concessions and all the fighting she's doing for us women in business is extraordinary. Now, let me quickly tell you, on the other side, I happen to live at 24 West 30th Street. I can walk off my fireplace and walk to the glass ceiling. I could open my windows and talk to all the men that were working there and building this gorgeous structure. Not once did I get inconvenienced by the noise. Am I inconvenienced by all the sirens and fire engines? Do I hear those? I do. But I don't anticipate having my real estate values diminished by the glass ceiling. In fact, the view from my windows is so much more beautiful now. This structure is gorgeous. I think this has, number one, enhanced my professional life and, in fact, my real estate value. Thank you.
Okay, next three are Ollie Luthold, Rachel Bosoko, and Eric Horvet.
Hello, everyone. I'm Allie Luthold. Thank you for having us here to speak with you tonight. I'm a member of Luminary, and I have to say that I was a little surprised at some of the characterizations I've heard about the glass ceiling. Nightclub, I've never in my wildest dreams would have called it that. And I'm really just here to speak directly to you and let you know that I've found so much value from being in this organization and such wonderful women. And when I go to Luminary, I go to work primarily. I'm there with my laptop and to engage and connect with other amazing women. And it's not, I mean, I couldn't imagine creating any kind of level of noise up there that would, you know, cause so much trouble to any neighbors. So I can honestly say I'm there to be a good neighbor. I pledge I will be a good neighbor, and I would just really urge you to, you know, consider this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and the entire members of the board and all the public here today to come and listen to us and hear our story. My name is Rachel Bosoko, and I have the immense honor and opportunity to serve as the Director of Community at Luminary. And I say that because I'm a millennial, and most millennials, they hate their jobs. I love my job. I love my job because the women I get to work with and the women I get to work for are phenomenal. My network has increased by 600 plus women. I have access to corporate members such as JP Morgan, UBS, Unilever, Girls Inc., the immense nonprofit here in the city. As a young woman, as a young professional, my own life has been drastically improved. But we've only heard from one community, it sounds like, the residents of the Gilsey House, and I hear you, but I'd love to talk about the community at Luminary, which is what I do every day. 70% of our women are self-employed. They're entrepreneurs, they're business owners. The rest of our women work 9-to-5 jobs. They are participants and active in the New York City area, and mostly in Manhattan. 83% of our women are between the ages of 35 and 55, with 62% having one or more children at home. These women have things to do. And I get the honor of staying with them in the evenings to talk about their businesses, their children, their aging parents, the stories that you gather around your table for too. We invite women every day, no matter who they are, to leave their ego out the door, to come authentically for themselves, and to sit at our table. And I'd like to extend that invitation for you to sit at our table as well. You'd see the immense women that come to the table and understand who our community is. We'd love to be a part of your community, and we're happy we're a part of it, and we want to extend that hand to you as well. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Different topic. Good evening. My name is Eric Horvat. I'm with the Oleon Group, and I'm here today on behalf of Oleon and my development partners, RXR and Chelsfield, regarding a conversion of a covered pedestrian space, converting into a new public garden at 550 Madison Avenue. Last week, we presented to the Land Use Committee about our vision for the public space at 550 Madison, and we were really thrilled to see the positive feedback we received in that meeting. We've worked really hard with our architects at Snøhetta over the past 2.5, 3 years to get this right. We've created a space that we think is truly a public amenity and that is really a beautiful green oasis for the community to enjoy. We have heard the concern about over-commercialization of certain public open spaces in the city, and we're happy to reiterate that our commitment to you is that the gardens will not become another platform for holiday markets and the like. In fact, we truly see the garden as sort of a unique amenity that doesn't feel like a commercial venture, and it's our intention that this spectacular addition to New York City will remain welcoming for everybody. We're excited to offer this improved amenity and transform severely underutilized space and create a public garden that everyone here will be proud of. So thank you for all your help and support as we've tried to get this right. It's been a very long road for us, as I mentioned, over 3 years, and we want to put this building back on the map and enliven it again.
Last two will be Gloria Giordano and Bobby Robaina. Robaina? Robin. Okay.
All right, thank you. As you know, my name is Bobby Robaina. I come from FIT in the Office of Government and Community Relations. We have a new exhibition at the museum at FIT, opened this week. Power Mode, the Force of Fashion explores the multiple roles fashion plays in challenging power dynamics within society. The show features over 50 objects from the museum's permanent collection, many of which have never been displayed on public view. As you know, we do a private curator-led tour for our neighbors of each exhibition on a Monday evening when the museum is closed to the public. The tour for Power Mode will be on Monday, February 3rd from 6 to 7 p.m. And if you want to attend, you can see me in the back or call 212-217-4726 or email mondays-friends@fit.nyc.edu. And also in great news, FIT was ranked #1 for business and design. FashionSchools.org has named FIT the #1 college for fashion design and merchandising in its 2019 rankings. The site, which aims to help prospective students choose where to go to college, bases its rankings on academic reputation, admissions selectivity, depth and breadth of the program, and its faculty value and location. And one major boost this year was our J. and Patty Baker School of Business and Technology's new supplemental accreditation by the Accreditation Council for Business Schools and Programs, which is widely considered to be a respected indicator of the quality of the institution's business program, teaching excellence, and student learning. And on behalf of FIT, I'd like to wish you all a happy holiday and great start to the new year and new decade, and thank you all. See you next year.
Thank you. Okay, the board now is entering its business session, which means that only board members are allowed to speak unless people are recognized by the chair. That's me. I'd like to start the business session by asking for a approval of the minutes. I need a motion and a second. Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote.
Akalis.
Yes.
Athanael.
Yes.
Weichman.
Yes.
Benzie.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Dowson.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gatto. Gashow.
Yes.
Greeley.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hartman.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaliforski.
Yes.
Casner.
Yes.
Kinsella.
Yes.
Montecito.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Oh, Lucic.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Meyerson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Shapiro.
Yes.
Slutsky.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Spandor.
Yes.
Spence.
Yes.
Verdi.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Weintraub.
Yes.
Whalen. Oh. Yang.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are approved, and we move into committee reports, starting with Public Safety Quality of Life. You're on, Nick.
Good evening. I've got one resolution for you tonight. May I have it deemed read?
So deemed.
This is a PSQL application, but the resolution is coming to you from the Executive Committee, and I'll explain why. PSQL has been working on this application for months, but the SLA held a hearing on this matter on December 2nd, which was before the PSQL committee meeting date. So the resolution is coming from the Executive Committee. This is already our position. This resolution was delivered to the SLA for the hearing on December 2nd. So this is already the position of the board. It's before you tonight for ratification. The application is by Glass Ceiling Events LLC. It's for a rooftop bar, lounge, and event space at 1204 Broadway between 29th and 30th Streets. The premises is about 3,700 square feet. It's on the rooftop of a 4-story building. Approximately 85% of the rooftop is enclosed by a glass structure. The glass structure is equipped to open at the roof and around the sides. 15% of the rooftop is unenclosed. The total capacity of the premises would be 74 persons, seating capacity of 64, and a bar capacity of 10. The premises would include one patron bar, no service bars. Immediately adjacent to, abutting and overlooking the space is a residential building located at 1200 Broadway with residences in their windows looking across and right down from the roof to the rooftop. We started out negotiating hours of operation, soundproofing, all the ordinary things that we typically do. But the conclusion became, because of the rooftop so close to these residential windows, no form of soundproofing would be adequate, no limitation on hours would be adequate. There's really nothing that could be done at that space to make it palatable so close to residential windows. We received, as you heard tonight, we received significant objection by the neighboring building at 1200 Broadway, as well as from the 29th Street Neighborhood Association. The Executive Committee denied the application unanimously 9-0-0-0.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict with this resolution? Are there any questions? Clayton?
Just detail about the sound engineer's report that you indicate found that noise would be inevitable. Could you just go into more detail about that?
So there were competing sound engineering reports. The Gilsey House provided one, and the applicant provided one. The Gilsey House sound engineer report said, there would be noise even through the glass, as you would expect. The applicant's sound engineer report said how well insulating the glass is. That report did not address sound when the glass structure would be open, and it didn't address sound from the unenclosed portions of the rooftop. It didn't address patron noise. Basically, neither of the sound engineer reports were helpful. The executive committee just found that it's just too close, sound engineering or not, to permit a rooftop space so close to a residential building.
Todd?
Nick, during the public testimony, there seemed to be competing statements that that they did meet all of our community board's conditions to be approved, and some said we did not. Can you clarify that?
So if the rooftop were 10 stories above the nearest residential building, then it would be in compliance. The fact that it's 4 or 6 stories below the residential building makes it out of compliance. It did comply, they were willing to comply with hours and, you know, the other stipulations, but the fact that it was so close really made that irrelevant.
So it was clearly not in compliance with that part of our rules.
Correct.
Other questions? Yes.
As it currently stands, can people go up onto the rooftop space and network and talk business, or is this application standing in the way of that?
No, they can use the space, they can network, they can talk business, they just can't sell alcohol.
Okay. And I'm seeing at line 57, it states CB5 would be willing to work with the applicant to ... license portions of the interior 4 floors of the building. How did the applicant respond to that?
That's not part of this application, so we didn't really discuss that at all.
Okay.
Their application is to license the rooftop. They do have the 3rd and the 4th floors of the building, and if they wanted to, we would certainly work with them to license that space.
Okay, so they didn't express, support or, pushback?
Their application is for the rooftop.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all.
Other questions? Any comments? Okay.
So I worked on this application. It was a lot. It was, as both sides have been saying, months. I've worked countless meetings between applicants and residents, and we tried to do our best to find a compromise. I certainly do want to commend the applicant for trying to find a compromise, and for, as well, all they've done for the neighborhood, the business itself. That's not really what's at issue here. The issue here is the liquor license. So perhaps too, I'll maybe try to clarify some things that, at least in my mind, seemed a little misleading from both sides. From everything I can tell, I do not think this will be a nightclub or a bar. However, it could be an event space rented out to non-members, and that I know is a concern. Again, though, the members all seem very commendable and very responsible. Nonetheless, it's just as Nick has been saying, it's so close. It's like you can literally, as Jamie was saying, walk from his window to the roof. It's so, it's really hard. Some of the other things the applicant was saying about being in compliance with the task force, as Nick was saying, that's not exactly true, because they are so low. And furthermore, the applicant had agreed to limit the hours outside of the enclosed glass structure, but not completely, right? They had agreed to limit the outdoor hours to 10 and 11, but still wanted to stay open inside until 1 and 2. And again, that's not in compliance with our rooftop guidelines. So, it's a really unfortunate and tricky situation, because I see both sides of it, but, it seems untenable.
Thank you, Jen. Clayton?
I have a few points I'd like to highlight as someone who served on the PSQL committee for many years and has been on Committee Board 5 for over 10 years now. That I am proud that Luminary is a constituent in our district. It is very clear that it is a benefit for our district and the neighborhood and the city that they are with us, and this has nothing to do with that. This application, in fact, has nothing to do with the applicant. The main thing I want to share is that, for the benefit of my fellow board members and also for members of the public who might not know this, it has nothing to do with the applicant. It doesn't matter if you don't intend to party or not. Once a brand new liquor license is approved, if Luminary decides to move uptown or to move to Hudson Yards or to move to Brooklyn in the future, the fact the license existed on the rooftop now will mean that it will likely be approved for the next tenant. And who is that tenant? So we take our due diligence and our responsibility extremely seriously in what is a mixed-use district. Unlike what one of the members of the public said, this is not a commercial district. It is totally unfair to characterize it as being that parents should not have moved to Gilsey House. Ludicrous. I personally know parents who are tenants of the Gilsey House who predate you by decades. They have the right to live there. It is our job to balance interests. When we hear statements like, I have empathy, but, we hear you, but, that's not what we do here. What we do here is fairly balanced interests. And when you can touch a neighboring building, or you are 4 stories above a rooftop bar, or you can step out of your window onto a rooftop bar, that's not a balance, that's too close. And I absolutely support the committee's decision.
Thank you, Clayton. Todd?
So I support what Clayton said, and Nick and Daniel. I serve on PSQL. I'm sorry that this didn't come before the full committee, where the public would have had a chance to weigh in and we could have discussed it in full. But timing of these things often dictates the executive committee go ahead and make these decisions. However, I will say this. We work very hard to have standards and rules and policy considerations which are published on our website and are freely available to any groups. This is not about the luminary group, as Clayton says. They're a notable group. I think many of us here support what they're trying to do. This is really about trying to be fair and balance interests. There's a lot of different groups that come to us. One of the things that community boards do is weigh these liquor licenses, and we try very hard to weigh these policies when we approve them and apply them consistently so that it's fair for everybody. So, and I think we've done that in this place, even though it's a tough decision. It's there in black and white, and I support it.
Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, we will take this to a vote.
McCaleb.
Yes.
Appanell.
Yes.
Fleischman.
Yes.
Benzing. Yes. Chu.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Dowson.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gashow.
Yes.
Greeley.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Harris. Hartman.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaliforski.
Yes.
Kasner.
Yes.
Kinsella.
Yes.
Logosico.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Lusick.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Meyerson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Shapiro.
Yes.
Sludskin.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Spandor.
Yes.
Spence.
Yes.
Verdi.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Weintraub.
Yes.
Yang.
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous approval of the resolution. Thank you very much, and we move now to Parks and Public Spaces. Clayton.
We have 5 resolutions, I'd like to have them deemed read,
So Dean,
and I'd like to bundle these.
okay?
Please note that 2 of these resolutions were heard by exec because of deadline reasons. That is clear in the packet. That is due to our ongoing issue with the Parks Department deadline that you're all familiar with. In those cases, the requisite language is included in the resolution about our concerns about the deadline. But I'll still go over those details.
Okay.
Okay, the first resolution is an application for Flaviar Holiday Booth in Bryant Park. This event has already occurred. This event was 1 day long. The booth was basically meant to sell a subscription service of premium whiskey delivery. There was no tasting or sales of whiskey in the park, much to our disappointment. Just kidding, kind of. The event was 1 day long. The booth was built in a way that aesthetically kind of matched the booths at the Winter Village Market in Bryant Park. We found that the kind of tenor of the event was very amusing, and although it's obviously commercial, it was not egregious at all. There was virtually no signage. It blended in with everything else aesthetically. There was a lot of conversation about use of recording of members of the public. As you know, Todd Shapiro put them through the ringer about that, and they were fully in agreement about how to best handle that. And on balance, we agreed that this was an acceptable a permit to support, and we voted unanimously to approve this.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict? And are there any questions? Any comments? Okay, next.
Our second resolution is a newsstand applicant who not only failed to post or show up, they also hung up on us. We gleefully voted unanimously to deny. That's all I have to say.
Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Yes.
This is not a comment about the application, but I'm afraid I just caught that my vote was not recorded on any of these. I sincerely apologize for not catching that earlier.
I'm sorry, could you?
His vote is not listed here.
But it'll be really easy to add in because I voted with everybody else.
Oh.
That's my fault, sorry.
No, I should have caught it by.
I'm not sure how that happened.
You mean in the packet?
Yeah.
Okay,
So Clark should be in all of those votes.
okay.
Actually, maybe not the newsstand. Do you remember? And we'll check.
Yes, thank you.
All right, the third one is Oreo. Ooh, this was fun. So the applicant is both Amazon and Oreo, so two small boutique artisanal companies, for a marketing event in Bryant Park that is happening tomorrow. I'm sure this event is happening, so please feel free to avail yourself of truly walking into a commercial. This is a 30 by 30 foot footprint immediately adjacent to the skating rink. It's the northwest corner of the skating rink where we often have had some of our most problematic marketing events during Winter Village. Oreo is building a gingerbread house that is not gingerbread but is in fact Oreo. There is a dunk ball pit, a photo opportunity area, a living room full of framed Oreos, a 7-foot Oreo-shaped rug, a 4.5-foot Oreo sign on the wall. The Oreo signage is pretty much, you really, if you had been tasked to come up with more Oreo signage, you wouldn't have done any better. So I applaud the applicant for that. Obviously, we voted unanimously to deny. We did have a very long conversation with the applicant, who was not Oreo, but was the marketing group that is representing them. There was, of course, no real interest or willingness to modify the application in any way. There were a lot of questions about ways that we might possibly seek to make this somewhat better. Bryant Park Corporation was in the room and was very aware that we were just kind of surprised at how incredibly kind of backwards this application is from what we have seen from them over the last couple of years. It's egregious, it's overtly commercial, they are giving Oreos to children, by the way. And we just thought it was incredibly inappropriate. Oh, and when it came to the Todd Shapiro footage reckoning, when it comes to that, sometimes we get on board with an applicant's plans if the recording of members of the public only happens inside the footprint of their proposed event. So if they're gonna build a structure like the whiskey booth, the filming is happening when someone is like talking to a representative standing at the counter, right? And only after that one-on-one conversation does someone say, by the way, you have been filmed, sign this, and if you don't sign it, we won't use your footage. That is the only way we can get behind it, that's the law. In this case, the plan for recording members of the public was both inside and outside the 30 by 30 foot footprint. So random passersby who were just like queuing up to ice skate or doing what most of us do walking through Bryant Park during the Winter Village, just like this, like floating in front of the Oreo structure, your visage could be used in perpetuity with all media throughout the universe. So they were not willing to modify their plans for filming outside of the structure or modifying their signage accordingly. And we thought that it was warranted a unanimous denial. There's some images on the next page if you're curious. Although honestly, this is like 1/5 of the impact.
Okay. Are there any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Yes, David.
They didn't bring samples either.
That donut guy really hit home, didn't he?
Yeah.
Todd?
We try pretty hard. Bryant Park is, the people that run it are usually pretty savvy and do a really good job. And when they get money from this, which help them run the park, and we really are usually pretty open-minded and try to work with these people. And we use the matrix, which we've all seen been voted on many times. But in this case, it was just so over the top. As Clayton said, it was literally like a living and breathing commercial that you can't avoid. And if our opinion means anything, we have to be consistent again with our standards, we have to vote for denial for this.
Okay. Yes, Nancy.
I have a question. Why was the matrix not referred to in the application by this applicant? I mean, why don't they look at it?
Well,
It's available to them, right, on the website? We have, or you give them the matrix.
yeah, I'm not really sure they care about that.
But it is available to them.
It is absolutely available. It's public
Okay.
information. It is, and certainly when Bryant Park Corporation is shepherding all of these applications through. So even though the applicant might be Amazon or Oreo or Flaviar or whoever, Bryant Park is the one who's kind of walking them through the process. So nobody's ignorant about what's going to happen at these public hearings. I think what we see, and which behooves all of us and is to our credit as a community board, is that by the time that we get to committee, either something is half-baked because they don't really care about our parameters, or they have taken it into consideration because they've been scared to ahead of time. And by the time we hear it, they've already toned down their plans for amplified sound or for giving away sugar or whatever, which often ends up resulting in our approval because we can kind of wrap our heads around like, well, if the park is getting X amount of money and this is less bad, this is one of those cases where there was no interest in modifying it or paying attention to us.
The reason you answering that question was so important to me is that we need to have everyone understand how careful we are at telling people or applicants what it is that we're looking for. So that it's not just sort of a blind no, but we put a process out there for people to respond to, and hopefully they will respond in a way that allows us to say yes and to approve it. So that was why it was important.
Well, yes, that's right. And to your point, the fact that this round we have 3 separate applications for Bryant Park, or 4, 3 of which didn't happen in time for full board to weigh in, is very problematic. And we have a very good relationship with Bryant Park, but this is a dust up. That's how I would characterize it. And we have been communicating with them about that. So every time a situation like this happens with any of the entities that we deal with, it is in fact an opportunity to kind of, there's always staff turnover, you never know, people get their eye off the ball. So it has been an opportunity for us to remind them and to kind of re-up our expectations. And so I do actually believe that this round is going to result in a little more attention to our process in the coming months.
Okay, any other comments? All right. Next resident.
The next one is another application from Amazon. This is for a handmade holiday market pop-up. This is apparently Amazon's attempt to compete with Etsy because, it's Amazon. And this has already occurred. This was a one-day event, 2 days, featuring products that are sold on a segment of Amazon that is called Amazon Handmade. Look, all there is to say is that they were extremely uncooperative. It was really hard to get any details from them, and the people that we were communicating with were all based in LA. And all of their answers were, we don't know, we're from LA. Come to the meeting, we can't, we're in LA. And then when we Googled the company, they have 2 headquarters, one in LA and one in New York. And in fact, the one that's in New York is in our district. So when we kind of reminded them of this fact, crickets, there was no response. And Bryant Park also failed to get a response out of them to this end. And I don't know if I should say this, but Bryant Park Corporation was relatively comfortable in our denial. It didn't sound as if they were having a very successful time communicating with the applicant themselves. So mostly out of non-compliance, this was a unanimous denial. And I actually am not even sure if this ended up occurring.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else does.
Are there any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, next.
The final one is an application from Red Bull. So this one is obviously totally commercial. It was one day. This has also already occurred. This was on the rink. It was a partnership with PK Subban, who is apparently a famous person, and it was about a pass the puck challenge, promoting the chance for kids to come on the ice and pass the puck with PK Subban. On the rink, they divided it 2/3, 1/3. So is that right? I think it was 2/3, 1/3. So 2/3 of the rink was still open to the public. 1/3 was for this event. There was no signage to speak of. The social media plans and all the publicity in advance was actually extremely minor, and most of it relegated to I keep having to look at my notes. PK Subban's personal Instagram stories. That seems to be where the publicity was going to happen, which all this is PK Subban being like, hey dudes, if you want to come skate with me, like do it tomorrow at Bryant Park, and like sip a Red Bull. That was the extent of the commercial. We actually didn't have a terrible problem with that. The structure that was used for this event next to the rink, there was Red Bull signage inside of that structure. You know, we didn't love this, but we definitely felt like if you were going to do something like this, there was in fact a kind of public benefit community engagement component. There are some people who would value such an experience. So we didn't think it was super egregious, and this is the type of thing where if Bryant Park Corporation was going to have one of their marketing events in the park, we could kind of reach a way to support this versus an Oreo gingerbread house, so we voted unanimously to approve this.
Okay, any conflicts with this resolution? Any questions? Any comments? All right, seeing none, we are voting on all 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yang.
Yes.
Weintraub.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Verdi.
Yes.
Spence. Spence.
Gone.
Yes. Spandor.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Slutsky.
Yes.
Shapiro.
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Meyerson. Yes. Nicole.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Lucid.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Wabasico.
Yes.
Kinsella.
Yes.
Kazner.
Yes.
Kalafarsky.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Isaacs.
Yes.
Hartman.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Greeley.
Yes.
Gasha.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Dowsey.
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Benzie.
Yes.
Seichman.
Yes.
Athenale.
Yes.
Akalis.
Yes.
Vikki, if I may, just one other update.
Okay.
So I'll be very brief. This did not get lots of media coverage. Years ago, you might remember that I was advocating on behalf of Hart Island to have jurisdiction of Hart Island transferred to the Parks Department from the Department of Corrections. It happened last week. De Blasio signed the bill. I can't believe it happened. I don't know what insider baseball shifted where all of a sudden the political winds were on board for Mitchell Silver to be like, yes, we'll take Hart Island. But Hart Island, you know, for those of you who don't know, is New York City's Potter's Field. Since 1860, we have buried all of our abandoned, unidentified, unknown homeless people, infants, AIDS victims, Bellevue outpatient people who die on the streets, bodies found in dumpsters and in the East River. They all end up at Hart Island, buried in trenches, 3 wide, 10 deep, of pine coffins that are left open until they are full, anyway, it's just been an incredible situation. The Department of Corrections has run it since 1860, which means that members of the public cannot visit the graves of their loved ones should they get to the point that they realize that their uncle, who was an outpatient at Bellevue, was buried in Hart Island. So last week it has been transferred to the Parks Department, which means that there is a chance for New York City to lead a kind of global movement right now in green burials. What they do on Hart Island is wait until there is no embalming, nothing happens. So it's like composting, basically. And when everything reduces to the point that they can refill the trench, they do so. That is how this sliver of land next to City Island is now home to over 1 million of New York's dead. So it's actually, it's creepy and weird and kind of sad, but it's very forward moving and very good news that we have stopped what was a kind of terrible secret of the way that New York City handled its unwanted. And the fact that this is now in the public domain and is the jurisdiction of a city agency is something that we should all be proud of. So I wanted everyone to know that.
Thank you, Clayton. That's very helpful. Thank you very much. Okay, we now move to landmarks. Layla?
All right, good evening, everyone. We have two applications tonight for our landmarks. The first one is on page 11, and it is an application at 16 East 16th Street. This is in the Ladies Mile Historic District. This is between 5th Avenue and Union Square West, right around the corner from where we are. The applicant is a hotel developer, and they acquired the building last year, and they want to convert it into a hotel. And as part of this conversion, they're proposing a number of alteration. I'm going to take you to the most significant, and if you want to turn on page 12, they basically want to build a enormous gable rooftop on top of the building. If you turn to page 13, you will see how the building looks like, and it looks like that today. This photograph was actually taken in 1929. The building has been mostly left intact from floors 2 all the way to the top. And the applicant is proposing to build a pitch roof structure that would sit on top of the existing roof that would bring the building to be a 9-story building. And what they're proposing to do is to actually build a glass structure that would sit on the rooftop, and they would drape this glass structure with perforated metal that would basically sit above the glass. The metal would be an alloy meant to look like bronze. It would not age, though. It would remain in its original color. And it would be entirely perforated. The applicant explained to us that it was very cutting edge. That it's been done in other projects and developments. It would basically sit like half a foot away from the glass, and it would be illuminated, so it would glow in the dark. The applicant is also proposing to build up the entire core of the building. That portion would also be very visible, although would not receive this perforated metal treatment. And they are also proposing to do a facade restoration where basically they would reconstruct the ground floor, which is a non-historic, really crappy ground floor. They would basically rebuild it to its original condition. So we didn't have any issue with the restoration. The restoration is of really good quality, but we had grave concerns about the rooftop for a number of reasons. The first one is that it is very visible. And as you know, we have very grave concerns about rooftops that, if any rooftop has been deemed appropriate, it is when they are actually non-visible, meaning that, they would be recessed and you would not be able to see them from any thoroughfare. This one is very visible. The core extension is also very visible. We also really struggled with the design, although we certainly appreciated that, it is cutting edge, it is forward thinking. It is absolutely not contextual, and, maybe it would be appropriate for, I don't even know, who could be our lovely neighbor, who could be a recipient for that, maybe Long Island City or Hudson Yards, I don't know, but not in the Ladies Mile Historic District. So we voted to deny, and the vote was 14-2-0-0.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict? Are there any questions? Any comments? Okay,
So if that's okay, I would like to bundle
Sure.
with the next proposal. Okay, so the next application starts on page 13. This is an application by the Department of Design and Construction for a proposed sidewalk reconstruction on 40th and 42nd Street, as well as 5th and 6th Avenues. Basically, it's the entire block, the whole perimeter around Bryant Park and the New York Public Library. It was interesting because the funding came through a rather unusual channel where basically this is federal funding. So we were actually pleased to see that, you know, our federal government is spending some money on the upgrades and maintenance of our district. Basically, what you have to know about that is that it is entirely in-kind restoration. Where there's concrete, there will be concrete. Where there's bluestone, there will be bluestone. Where there is pink granite curb, there will be pink granite curb. The differences, very minor. One of them is extension of the sidewalk at the corner of 6th Avenue and 40th Street to allow for better pedestrian flow around the subway entrance. The other area of interest is, and I invite you to turn to page 15, they are proposing, at the request of the Department of Transportation, to install a wayfinder sign on 42nd Street at 5th Avenue, right in front of the New York Public Library. The sign itself is 9 feet tall and 5 feet wide. We felt that it was entirely absurd to block the vista onto such a significant landmark, and not only the library but also the park. And so we voted to recommend approval, but with the condition and the firm stipulation that this wayfinder sign be installed elsewhere.
Okay, excuse me. Any conflicts? Any questions? Comments? All right, seeing, oh, sorry.
This is a minor comment on line 411. I believe there was a typo. I believe it should be bear as in the large animal, and not bear as in B-A-R.
Got it.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Clayton?
Sorry, Layla, also at 411, I'm just wondering if it is a stipulation, if there is a language we can add that's also bold so that they notice that stipulation. Because right now it kind of, at first glance, just looks like an approval. You know, I don't know what that would look like, but if there's, I don't know what an approval of conditions is normally, how that's normally worded, but.
So you would want the
If that's what the committee meant.
the issue with, well, that's we had grave reservations about this this sign. I would consider it a friendly amendment if you.
Well, in that case, I mean, and again, this is just whatever was reflective at committee, but it recommends approval given that, you know, or on the condition that. So it's one resolve as opposed to two.
Yeah, I would consider that a friendly amendment.
Okay, good. So that changes to a one resolve, combining those two.
Yeah.
And use the word condition.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Can you just write wording for me, please?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, July.
The construction for the side streets, when are they going to take place at the same time or, you know, sequentially? Was this mentioned at all?
Yes, it's going to be phased in. So it's going to be sequential. It is not involving the street. It's only for the sidewalks. Just want to make that clear. Yeah.
Other questions? Any comments? Okay, we can vote on both of these.
Yeah.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Weichman.
Yes.
Benzing.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Dowson.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gashow.
Yes.
Greeley.
Yes.
Hops.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hartman.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaliforski.
Yes.
Kazner.
Yes.
Kinsella. Logseco.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Lucic. Mafia.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Meyerson. Miller.
Yes.
Paulson.
Oppose on 16 West 16th, East 16th Street, excuse me, and approve leaving.
Okay. Shapiro.
Yes.
Slutskin.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Spandor.
Yes.
Spence. Oh, sorry. Verdi.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Weintraub.
Yes.
Yang.
Yes.
Okay, the resolution's passed, and we're on to land use. Layla?
Okay, so before we go to the two resolutions that you have in your package, I want to give you a brief update on what we did at committee. We actually had 4 items on the agenda this month. We reviewed an application by the Department of City Planning for a Union Square special permit for hotels, and it involves literally one block and a sliver, one lot, not even a block, one lot and a sliver of 2 other lots in CB5. All the rest, and the rest is like, dozens of blocks, are in CB2 and CB3. We felt it was a good opportunity to have DCP in the room. We always welcome the opportunity to have them, join the committee, and we had the opportunity to ask questions. We were concerned and wanted to make sure that what would end up being permitted on the south street of 14th Street, south side of 14th Street, which is in CB2 and CB3, would not have any negative impact in our district, whether it is shadows or transit infrastructure. We felt pretty comfortable, but we were also very cognizant that CB2 and CB3 reviewed the application before we did, and came vehemently opposed to the proposal. We felt that it was really a parochial issue that belonged to them, so we issued a letter that basically supports our fellow community boards. And although we may have our set of concerns, basically the questions that we had really was questioning the boundaries. We felt that maybe there would be some value in making this proposal a little broader, but strictly on what was in front of us, it is not going to have any direct impact. So we are basically supporting CB2 and CB3. The other item that we discussed is the Waldorf Astoria. If you recall, the Waldorf Astoria came to Community Board 5, I want to say like 9 months ago, because they wanted a waiver because they're not compliant with their open space requirement. So when when a commercial building converts to condo, they have to dedicate some of their roof space to be open to all the residents of the building as a mitigation method for providing open space, given that they're bringing additional residents. The Waldorf Astoria came to us and said, we're not going to be compliant because we're going to construct these beautiful condo units that they're going to have very expensive rooftop terraces, private rooftop terraces. And therefore, we don't want to give this space to the entire occupancy of the building. We want to keep it for private use so that we can design these very expensive condos. And we told them that it was a problem because non-compliance is not something that we take lightly. So they basically told us that they could not provide compliance unless they gave away 9 hotel rooms, which we felt was something that, given the size of the property, was a reasonable step to reach compliance. But we also told them that if really they could not provide compliance or did not want to provide compliance, we would offer them, in order to mitigate the negative impact and the non-compliance, we would offer them to make a contribution to Central Park as a way to, help and promote a public park that would be, a compensation for the loss of open space at the building itself. And very surprisingly, they actually said, no, we're not interested. So we told DCP that we're not happy and that we would certainly not consider any action on their end being an approval as something satisfactory. And DCP told us, okay, we're looking at it. We're asking the applicant to give us more information. DCP has not yet ruled on this matter. Nonetheless, the Waldorf Astoria decided to file their offering plan, meaning that they have told the Attorney General, as it is the requirement, exactly what is the layout of the condos that they're going to market. Although they don't have the permission yet from the Department of City Planning to build those condos. So we felt that it was a little concerning. Either they know something we don't, or they're putting, what is the expression? Putting the ox before the cart?
Before the horse.
Cart before, yeah, okay. So the ox and the cart is not in the right sequence, and we certainly want to let the Attorney General's office know of that, because we're not sure that they are aware. So we have sent a letter to the Attorney General's office to make her aware of this situation. So those were the two reports. And now to our resolution. So we ended up having two resolutions. The first one on page 15, very simple. 1162 Broadway. This is between 27th and 28th Streets. This is an amendment to a BSA variance. So this applicant came to us with a BSA variance, I want to say 2 years ago. At the time, they wanted to build a hotel. The real reason for the variance was actually that they needed and they wanted to comply with the Landmarks Preservation Commission's design guidelines that basically call for a building in the Madison Square North Historic District having a straight facade rather than having the sort of recessed wedding cake type of design. But the straight wall design is non-compliant with the zoning. We felt that it was actually a good reason to grant a variance, and we did approve the variance 2 years ago. So now they came back to us, and they no longer want to build a hotel. They want to build a commercial building. And the massing of the building is going to be 1 story lower. Therefore the variance, the amount of variance is actually lower. We felt it was great. There was no reason to oppose, certainly, and we're actually very happy and excited that we're getting a small commercial building rather than a hotel. This is something that we've been advocating for a long time. So unanimous approval for this BSA amended variance.
Excuse me. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, next reso.
All right.
Last reso.
Last reso. This was really the pièce de résistance for our committee last week. This is an application by 550 Madison. Also known as the AT&T Tower. This building, as you know, was designed by Philip Johnson. You heard about it at this board because we actually voted to support the landmark designation of the building. This has been quite a complicated adventure. Initially, if you may recall, the owner of the building had some visions of redoing the ground floor in a very modern, very striking way that caused quite a bit of outrage. The applicant actually agreed to designate the building an individual landmark, which means that they entirely revised the design of the ground floor. We were very pleased with the support for designation. And now they came to us because as part of the construction of this building, originally there was a creation of a POPs in exchange for higher density. As such, this POPs is subject to public review. So they came to us and they presented what you can see on page 19. It is going to be a extremely lush, extremely highly vegetated open area. It is mostly covered, but not entirely covered. It runs the entire depth of the block. It is abutting the east facade of the building. And there will be 3 kiosks that will, provide coffee and such. They are increasing the number of public bathrooms from 4 to 8. And the big part of our conversation with the applicant is that, we certainly applaud their design, and we were really very impressed with what they're proposing. But very soon we started having conversation about the type of use and putting some restrictions on commercialization of the space, because all of a sudden we had visions of Union Square and Oreo gingerbread stuff and holiday markets and whatnot, and we really feel that there's such a scarcity of open space, public open space in Midtown, and this really promises to be absolutely stunning and spectacular. We felt that we had a great responsibility to keep it, public and open. We shared those concerns with the applicant. We explained to them that we're going to issue a denial unless they would agree to our conditions, which they totally understood. So this is what we passed at committee, and then subsequently they agreed to every one of our stipulations. It is making its way, it is in the resolution. We are continuing to work with the applicant so that we have it in writing in a form that can be submitted to the Department of City Planning, to the City Planning Commission, and to our elected officials. They have made a really strong commitment to work with us. It has been, from a hectic beginnings, it has been a real pleasure to work with this particular applicant. It's not always the case, and when that happens, I think it's really important to really underscore it. They went really above and beyond, meeting our expectations and certainly producing a great design, and we are presenting an approval of this application, and it was unanimous votes.
Okay, any conflicts with this resolution? Any questions to the resolution? Clayton?
If this Department of City Planning is not willing to enter the text into the zoning resolution, what are our options for actually having binding, what options do we have?
Yeah. So at the present moment, the Department of City Planning and the City Planning Commission are not sure that they can incorporate the language that the community board and the owner have agreed to into the restrictive declaration. We are still hopeful that the City Planning Commission, which is really the entity that makes the approval, will be able and willing to register this language. If the CPC is reluctant to do that, we are really working actively with the applicant. They are going to submit a formal letter making the commitment to us. And it is not as encompassing as if it were part of the restrictive declaration that ends up being recorded with the deed of the property in perpetuity. But we are looking at ways to really make it formal. And I still hold a little bit of hope that city planning, both the department and the commission, will end up doing the right thing.
Nick?
You can do a deed restriction, just that the applicant, the owner itself can do one.
Yeah, we're actually looking at that option with the applicant.
Anything else? Yes.
So I have a question regarding the 8 bathrooms. Are those single stall bathrooms?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so they will be then gender neutral according to city regulations?
Yes, they are.
Okay, any other questions? Any comments? Okay, seeing none?
I do have a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to commend this applicant. I raised a lot of hell about the market thing, and not just me, but you know me, so I did that. And I just want, now is the time that I just feel the obligation to say that despite the fact that I had overriding concerns about that one issue, I just think that this application is remarkable. It is visionary, it is creative, it's innovative, it is hugely unusual in our district, and I really commend you, Layla, for the whereas at 565, because that sums up the particular irony that we have, which is that the East Midtown rezoning was meant to try to require this type of space, and the first actual creative use of public space that we're seeing is from an applicant that is not beholden to that rezoning. I don't care. It's fabulous that they're coming up with it anyway, but I'm grateful that language is in there, and I commend the applicant for that.
Could you tell us how you really feel? Thank you. Okay, we are taking, is that okay? No more comments? That was a good one. Okay, last 2 resolutions and last of the evening.
Yang.
Yes.
Weintraub.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Verdi.
Yes.
Spandor.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Slutsky.
Yes.
Shapiro.
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Myerson. Nicole.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Lusick.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Wabsiko.
Yes.
Kinsella.
Yes.
Kazner.
Yes.
Kalfarsky.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Hartman.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hoff.
Yes.
Greeley.
Yes.
Gashow.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Dowsett.
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Weichman. Athanael.
Yes.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Okay, they pass. Meeting is adjourned. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. See you in January. Happy New Year.
Yes. One moment.